justice, got to have justice. We want justice, got to have justice. We want justice, got to have justice. We want justice, got to have justice. For many years we worked as slaves, sun up, sundown, and even Sunday. Then this wealthy nation took the work from us.
You know you're wrong.
For services rendered, reparations, what we needed.
We want justice, got to have justice.
All we needed.
We want justice, got to have justice.
What we needed.
We want justice, got to have justice.
Brothers and sisters, comrades, it's always an honor to introduce freedom fighters like Brother Larry Hamm and the People's Organization for Progress, POP, to other freedom fighters and activists in the struggle for social justice, liberation, and radical change. The times dictate that organizations and activists committed to radical change find points of unity to build the broadest possible resistance to the attacks against the people, especially the most oppressed sectors of society. African Americans, Latinos, other oppressed and working people and women have been catching hell in a society that claims to be democratic and wants all of the countries throughout the globe to model themselves after the U.S. The racist killing of young Trayvon Martin has special significance. It helps to make clear that despite having a black president and the crazy claim of being a post-racial society, that black life is in danger. It will always be the main scapegoat of this capitalist society, especially when it's in crisis. The massive mobilizations of black and people with conscience responding to this racist murder must not only continue to grow, demanding justice for Trayvon, but must become the energy for rebuilding the black liberation movement based on a program of action that empowers the black masses, forges alliances with other oppressed sectors, and acts in concert with the global struggles for justice, liberation, and radical change. This must be a spark that lights the prairie fire of resistance that sets the direction for the final death blow of this evil system. Despite the projections by the corporate-owned media, the propaganda arm of the 1% capitalist elite, the U.S. system of corporate greed and unjust wars is being challenged on every front, on every continent, and every region throughout the globe. This imperial power is getting weaker, which is why it is so very, very dangerous. The victims of this greedy system, the unemployed, immigrant workers, working class women, LGBT communities, and especially from the nationally oppressed Black, brown, and Native American peoples and peoples in the global South are being made the villains and criminals to foster this racist and divisive climate in hopes that it will produce thousands more George Zimmermans. Power concedes nothing without a demand. A serious demand must have the determination and organization to fight as long as it takes to win, recognizing that some battles will be lost. This is the trademark of POP, the People's Organization for Progress. It has been a leader in the struggle against unjust police murders and abuse of police powers all over the state of New Jersey, and it has expressed solidarity with the struggles all over the country and all over the world. The current main campaign of POP for jobs, peace, and justice is demonstrating determination and organization to win. POP has held rallies for a couple hundred or more days consecutively in memory of the Montgomery, Alabama bus boycott, which lasted 381 days. The Black Workers for Justice hopes that this participation by POP and Brother Larry Hamm in Dr. King's support for Labor Banquet is a step toward building a close organizational working relationship as comrades in the struggle for social justice, self-determination, and revolutionary transformation. Welcome, Brother Larry.
Power to the people.
Power to the people.
Power to the people.
Power to the people.
Very glad to be here this evening. I want to thank Saladin for that introduction. I'm so glad to be here, and I want you to know that I did not come down here alone, Saladin. We brought at least 20 members and friends of the People's Organization for Progress from New Jersey down here today with us. Some of the members stand up, and friends from New Jersey, our folks from New Jersey, stand up, give them a hand. As you can see, we're glad to be here with you. It is a great honor for me to speak before the Black Workers for Justice, with whom I became acquainted with probably almost 2 decades ago. Because you see, the People's Organization for Progress had Bella as its sister organization, the Black Telephone Workers for Justice, which was under the leadership of Ron Slim Washington, a great freedom fighter and organizer of working people in New Jersey, who has since gone on. And Brother Ron Washington told me of the work of the Black Workers for Justice, and I have kept up with your activities, and I have to say that the Black Workers for Justice is a model, an example for organizing workers throughout this country. Give the Black Workers for Justice a big hand. And I came here today to say thank you, because the Black Workers for Justice, just on a telephone call from us, Larry, just on a telephone call I made to Saladin and explained to him what we were doing. Maybe I should explain it a little more to you. In the country today, as you know, they say now the unemployment rate is 8.2%, but we know that's not the real figure. The unemployment rate is probably really twice that, with as many as perhaps 26 million people being underemployed and unemployed in the nation. In New Jersey, we know that depression level unemployment is 10%. In New Jersey right now, the unemployment rate, the official unemployment rate, is 9.5%. But the national unemployment rate in the Black community is 1.5 times the depression level rate, at perhaps 17% nationally. And in the city of Newark, we have a 22% unemployment rate officially, with some neighborhoods having 50% unemployment and higher. And our organization has been confronted with this problem and has wrestled with this problem. And we said, well, what can we do to draw attention, to perhaps try to get some of the leadership in the state to move on this issue? And we decided last year, after discussing this for about 6 months, that we would do something different. Usually when we protest the issue, you know, it lasts for a season. Or sometimes we might have one demonstration around a major issue and then march on Washington and that's over. Or maybe march to the state capitol and then it's over. We decided that we would protest the jobs problem in our community and other issues every day. And we started this protest on the 27th of June. And every day since the 27th of June, we have had daily protests for jobs, peace, equality, and justice. Today was our 286th day, consecutive day of protests in our community. 286 days. And people said, well, how long will we continue this? We decided that we would try to go at least 381 days, because that was the length of the Montgomery bus boycott. And as you know, our people in Montgomery didn't have hardly any of the resources that we have today. They didn't have cell phones. They didn't have fax machines. They didn't have high-speed copiers. They didn't have laptop computers. They didn't have PCs. They didn't have Blackberries, smartphones, iPads, none of that. But they had unity, and with that, they broke the back of the Montgomery Bus Company and ended segregation in Montgomery, Alabama. 60,000 black people protested every day until they ended segregated seating on those buses. So we said we should go at least 381 days. And I need you to know that our vision for this project is a little wider than jobs, because there's been some coverage in the newspapers back home, and if you would read about it, you would think that jobs are the only thing we're demanding. Yes, we're demanding jobs. We're demanding a national jobs, federally funded jobs program to put the 26 million unemployed and underemployed people in this country back to work. Yes, we're demanding jobs. Jobs for the unemployed. Increase the minimum wage for the underemployed and raise the wages of workers in this country that haven't kept pace with inflation for 30 years. Yes, it is about jobs. But it's more than about jobs, and that's the part they don't tell you. The other demand, we want an end to the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and no war with Syria, no war with Iran, no more wars, period. And take the money that we are spending on war and spend that on job creation. The other thing they won't tell you that we're protesting for is workers' rights to unionize and collectively bargain, which are under attack in this country. Now, we are not a union. The People's Organization for Progress, we don't officially represent anybody, but we know that what affects one of us affects all of us. And when workers are unionized and collectively have that right, all the boats rise. Everybody's wages rise. The other thing we are protesting, we want a halt to these home foreclosures throughout communities across this country. We want a national moratorium, at least a 5-year moratorium on home foreclosures. Now, this has been, with regard to that, a busy week for the People's Organization for Progress. Last week, the mother of one of our members, Susie Johnson, faced an eviction order from Judge Klein in Essex County. She was due to be evicted on Friday, I believe it was Friday, March the 30th. And we've been doing work around this issue of foreclosures, as I'm sure many of you have been doing. And we went to the city council meetings, and we went to the board of freeholders meetings, and we pleaded with this one and pleaded with that one to no avail. So we decided on the 30th of October, we weren't going to let great-grandma Susie Johnson be thrown out of her house by J.P. Morgan Chase. So members of the People's Organization for Progress and other organizations went up to 470 Meade Street and stood in front of the gate of Susie Johnson's house, sat in the street on Meade Street so the trucks couldn't come to Susie Johnson's house. And when the sheriff's people got there, we did not back down. We did not back down. We said, you can't throw an 80-year-old great-grandmother, arthritis so bad in her knees, she can't walk, diabetic. We're not going to let you throw her into the streets. And they didn't. They backed down because the people stood together. The people stood united. And this is what we need to do all over the country. We need to confront these people. We need to confront these sheriffs. We need to tell the sheriffs in these other counties to do what the sheriff of Cook County did, refuse to do any more evictions in our communities. But we have to have unity, and we have to have a militant fighting spirit, and we got to be able to take risks, because I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, we're not going to get anything with business as usual tactics. Now is the time for the boldest and most militant tactics we can create and come up with in our communities. So we say end these home foreclosures. The other thing that we've been demanding in our community, we want universal single-payer health care for everybody in the United States of America. This is what we talk about during our daily protests, but they won't tell you. They won't tell you that. We're also demanding, we've been saying, stop the privatization of public education that's going on in our communities right now. Because that's what's going on, a full-scale effort to destroy public education. And you all who know anything about public education know that one of the roots of public education comes out of the freedom struggle of our community. One of the first things the Reconstruction governments did when we got the power to vote and we put black people in these state legislators, they created free public schools. It's rooted in our experience. And now they want to dismantle public education as we know it today. The other thing that we're demanding, we're saying we want affordable college education for our young people. This country is rich enough, in fact, to provide free college education for all of our young people if we take the money that we're spending on war and spend it on education. And end student debt. Isn't it enough that they face a bleak future, probably being jobless for several years? Do they have to be saddled with $50,000 and $100,000 worth of debt? We say no, end student debt. There's enough money to provide free higher education for all of our young people in this country. The other thing that we've been saying is tax the rich, make them pay their fair share of taxes. This is why we have all these budget deficits, because for the last 50 years, they've been in fact diminishing their share of taxes that they've been paying. And what we tried to do recently is link our national broad demands to local demands. Right now, they're getting ready to try to close 10 schools in Newark, New Jersey. We say no closure of any more public schools. Enough is enough. And we're going to be working with the parents and organizing the parents against these school closures. The other thing we say, we got a big problem in our community and communities across this country. Stop police brutality. Stop police brutality. That's a component part of our program. And we got some serious issues. Let me tell you, they talk about Trayvon Martin. We got Trayvon Martins in every black community across the United States of America. It's not just in Sanford, Florida. The other thing they're trying to do in Newark, we're trying to link to the local demands, something that they're doing in third world countries, something that they've done particularly in South America. They want to privatize Newark's water system. And if they privatize our system, it'll probably double the water bills. Now, here's the thing. They already are shutting people's water off, taking people to jail because they don't pay their water bills. But we have corporations in Newark that haven't paid their water bill in 2 or 3 years. If they can have a moratorium, we should have a moratorium. We say no privatization of Newark's water. And this is going on all across the country. It's not just happening in Newark, New Jersey. The other thing we've been demanding is for Newark to get its fair share of revenues from our ports, the airport and Port Newark. The airport and Port Newark together take in billions of dollars every year, but Newark only gets a fraction of that. So we're working with other organizations throughout the county and throughout the area to try to work to get our fair share of the revenues in the city of Newark. And the other thing that we have a problem with, and you probably heard about this, we call on the mayor, the police department, the sheriff, the county sheriff's department to stop spying on Muslim communities in the city of Newark, which is going on right now. You think it's stopped? It has not stopped. But we're going to try to build a movement to stop it. So we're continuing this campaign. And brothers and sisters, we need your help. This campaign has been going on for 286 days, and I doubt that most of you have heard about it in your communities. We need you to help get the word out. When we started out with this project, it was only the People's Organization for Progress. I'm proud to report that 175 organizations have endorsed this effort. And if you haven't already endorsed this effort, we also want your endorsement from your organization. But more than that, wouldn't it be good, wouldn't it be great if similar activities were going on in cities across this country? If everybody was having daily protests? With the hell that people are catching, this country should be on fire with protests. It shouldn't be like the 60s. It should be greater than the 60s. There needs to be mass movements in urban areas all across this country. With the way that tuition is rising on college campuses, these campuses should be on fire with protests. This, I believe, is one of the things that's required in this particular period. And in addition to that, we must not only fight for reforms. I think it's time for us to raise, as Dr. King raised. Now, he raised it. They just don't want anybody to know about it. But if you read Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community, or you read the speeches King gave in 67 and 68 in Dr. Washington's book, A Testament of Hope, Dr. King wasn't just calling for reforms. Martin Luther King was calling for a radical transformation of our socioeconomic system, and we have to raise that demand again. We have to raise that demand again. Because the truth of the matter is, as Malcolm X said, can a chicken produce a duck egg? Can capitalism and imperialism really produce jobs, peace, equality, and justice? Or in fact, do we need a different kind, a more egalitarian kind of socioeconomic system? It was Dr. King who said we need a radical redistribution of power and wealth in this country. It was Dr. King when he was organizing black workers in Memphis, Tennessee, and getting ready for the Poor People's Movement, the Poor People's Campaign in Washington, D.C. Remember what Dr. King was trying to do? If you read that book, and you all have, I'm sure, what did Dr. King say? He said, and Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos and Community, he wanted, even then, in 1967, to take 1 million people to Washington, D.C. And what were they going to do? Engage in massive, nonviolent civil disobedience until what? Until Congress passed an economic bill of rights. And the point of fact is that we've been stepping back, many of us stepping back from those grand demands he made 40 years ago. We got to put those demands back on the table. We got to put those demands back on the table. And groups like Occupy Wall Street and the Occupies that have been going on across this country have in fact helped that dialogue. But we got to move it beyond a dialogue. We got to move it into the realm of practical politics. Now, I'm not going to talk about the election because I know what most of you are going to do in November, despite the protests. I know what most of the people in my community are going to do. But my concern is not Election Day, November 6, 2012. My concern is what we're going to do on November 7th, 2012. If we go into the voting booth on the 6th, we need to go back into the streets on the 7th. Because I'm telling you, some of the most repressive policies, more repressive than those that came out of the Bush administration, are coming out of the White House. And we got to raise this issue. We got to raise the issue. We can't be afraid to raise the issue of what's going on. We can't be afraid. George Bush could not get away with some of the things that have come out of this White House. If it was Bush that was doing it, tens of thousands of us would be in the street. So I'm not going to try to debate you about what to do on November 6th. The point of fact is that it seems that the people's interests are attacked regardless who is in the White House. So we have to build a movement that's independent of either party to raise the people's demands for jobs, for peace, for equality, for justice, for civil rights, for civil liberties. We have to raise those demands. We have to build a movement regardless of who is in the White House. Because there are forces, brothers and sisters, that want to take us back. They want to take us back beyond the Civil Rights Act. They want to take us back beyond the New Deal. They want to take us back beyond the amendment that gave women the right to vote. They want to take us back beyond the struggle for the 8-hour workday. Some of them even want to take us back past the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. But I'm telling you tonight, we are not going back without a fight. Power to the people.